Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, and this is a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Chris McElwain, drafted in for the ever-busy Paul John Dykes, who's off on Acsom business as usual. But like Brendan Rodgers, I've got a hell of a midfield trio to call upon today. I've got the midfield, middle of the park maestro and young Patrick McGill. I've got the box-to-box engine and James McKenzie, and of course I've got the ever reliable, the midfield general, the skipper, which is John Hughes. Gentlemen, afternoon. Hope everyone's well. Lots and lots to talk about today. It's Champions League night, so we've got the big game of Bruges. We're definitely going to touch on that. But I think, just given that we've not spoken since the weekend, we're coming off a great performance and result against Hearts, so good momentum to take into the game tonight. But Patrick, we'll start with yourself. What were your impressions of the Hearts game and how we performed?
To begin with, it was quite a worrying first half. Not that we were terrible, but there wasn't a lot happening. Hearts probably had the better of the chances. I think they had maybe 2 or 3 sort of half chances where they could have scored. We didn't really look our sort of usual. Didn't look as if we were going to punish them in any way. And then second half comes, and I think it's something like 9 minutes into the second half we get the goal. Their goal, very little we can do about a strike from that range. But our 4 goals, I think particularly the open play goal from Ida, I think it was, I can't remember if it was his first or his second, but the one from open play, I mean, that was an absolutely beautiful goal. I didn't celebrate our opener all too much because I thought Kyogo was offside. But when you see the replay, he's well onside, so was buzzing with that. Watched it in a sort of fairly neutral pub, so I didn't celebrate all too much for any of the 4 goals actually. But it was a good night, great performance, and results earlier that day went our way as well. So we're now, I think we're 2 clear of Aberdeen with a game in hand, and 11 clear of Rangers. So I'd say we're looking pretty good for the title. I believe we're actually 1-33 with the bookmakers, which gives us something like a 97% chance of winning the league, which I think they've got that one right. If I'm being honest, I think that's pretty accurate. And
97, that is frankly an insult.
I was going to say, it's shocking. How dare they?
It's good to be back on with you, Yogi. I've not seen him, so I just wanted to wish him a happy 68th birthday. I think it is. It was 68 you were turning, John, wasn't it?
Was it 68? Are you sure? I thought it was not 76.
No, sorry, it was 21, wasn't it? 21.
21. Listen, there's going to be murder done here. And I was just about to congratulate young James on getting a luxury upgrade in juvenile detention to Kindly Cell. But yes, thank you very much for that abuse of my old age. I am very old now. And as Chris introduced me last week, could they say middle-aged or not? That was Paul John. They say middle-aged. I am, but only if I live to 110. So, I'm very much in a downward slope here. Yes, and given my athletic build, a downward slope is going to lead to a very quick descent. It's thanks very much, Patrick. Yeah, I know you said that with all sincerity. I had a great birthday. And talking about that sort of thing, can I just do a wee shout out? Someone sent me a message yesterday.
Of course.
James Clark sent me a message about his friend, Jerry McLean, and he is in hospital recovering from a major operation, and he's a massive Acsom fan. He listens every day, and he's housebound, so the contributors on here on the programme gets him through the day. So big shout out to you, Jerry. Thanks very much for listening, mate, and I hope you have a swift recovery.
Absolutely.
In terms of the weekend, I think like everyone else, these international breaks are not good for us, man. Just it just kills all our momentum, and then guys come back, and some of them have trained for a day, some of them haven't trained at all. They're all in jet lag, and I think we went into it last week. Then I think I brought it up again. I'll not go through the whole thing again, but the amount of travelling and jet lag that the Japanese boys have got is just ludicrous. They're talking about 16 hours each way, and then also the actual time difference. And someone suggested to me that it would be like New Zealand, the rugby team. I think I said this actually, I can't remember. The New Zealand rugby team, when they're doing a short trip away, they stay in their own time, right? And I was like, well, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense to an extent. But does that not mean that in their own time, then they're potentially playing a game at 4 o'clock in the morning? So I'm not sure how helpful that is, to be honest with you. But it does prevent, I suppose, the sort of week-long jet lag that you can potentially get. So it just, the first half was almost to be expected. I'm not sure how we're ever going to get around that, especially when we have so many good players and there's so much travelling and everyone's going to different corners of the world. And, it was just, but I mean, you could see the guys that hadn't been called up, the likes of Kuhn and stuff like that were pretty much unaffected. I didn't know what to say about Kuhn. So if you ever watch Game of Thrones, I just did the whole, Nicholas Garrett Kuhn, first of his name, King of Broinar, the first man, and all this sort of stuff. What are you supposed to say about Kuhn that hasn't been said? I mean, wow, what a finish that was! And just the play between him and Maeda was just sensational. I mean, those have got to be two of the fastest guys in Europe. And I know Kuhn is because someone put his figures up. So you're talking two of the fastest guys in Europe breaking on you, and beautifully, I might add, not just getting away with the pace and then tripping over it. The finish at the end of effectively a 60-70 metre sprint, just absolutely unbelievable. And then we empty the bench and then we just batter them. So the thing about it is, I said, I don't know, was it a month ago? I don't know if he was on with you, Chris. I don't know if it was how long ago it was, but it wasn't long after the start of the season. I was saying this is potentially an unbeaten season for us. And I absolutely believe that. I think domestically, I think, I'd be shocked if we lose a game. Absolutely shocked. And I don't think I've ever, I can't remember the last time I said that. So I would be, we just have so much strength and depth. And I don't think anyone can live with us when we start bringing guys off the bench that are proper quality. There's guys on there you want to see more of. Luke McCowan, I'm dying to see more of him. He was so good when he came on. I'm just I'm sort of almost begging the manager to bring him on just for entertainment value. I just want to see what he can do. I thought the game at the weekend would have been a good opportunity, but I mean, you've got to give Bernardo minutes. You've got to give Engels minutes. It's a hell of a difficult thing to rotate, but they're all just look. We are in a bit of a golden age at the moment, really, and we'll come on to it now, a bit later. But tonight,
a golden age, Don. A golden age, just like yourself. A golden age.
No, I'm very much a great age, a silver age. It's fantastic to be a Celtic supporter at the moment. All the conversations we're having are about good things. My rants are reduced to a minimum because things are going so well and the club generally has done a good job, apart from one thing which we'll come on to later.
Well, I was going to say I'm lining you up for that one, John. So be patient because that one's coming. But I do want to jump to James. And this, we had the press conference yesterday. James, Brendan on typical good form, making some really great points, talking about the tactics. Now, there's something. This is why I wanted to bring you on in this, James, because as a young up and coming journalist, you're starting to really establish yourself in that world. Now, there was a couple of questions asked during that press conference. A young fella by the name of Daniel, I won't give his full name, but he asked some questions, a little bit stat heavy. The young lad was clearly showing a bit of nerves, something that was picked up actually by Brendan Rodgers, and Brendan, showing his typical empathy and good humour, put the young chap at ease. But I've seen since that, and it was something that was highlighted on our group chat, that the young fella has been, he's taken a fair bit of abuse on the socials for the structure of his questions, for being a little bit stat heavy, quoting things like sofa score. I mean, look, this is a young guy, and I'll never criticise anyone for being a little bit verbose. I mean, my God, I get that on, every time I'm on here, I get that levelled at me. But James, from your perspective, we should lay off a little bit, right? I mean, this was a young guy who actually did a bit of research before asking these questions. Were the questions a wee bit long-winded? Yeah, absolutely. Would I have, been any more succinct in that position? Probably not. So I would say, look, this young guy in front of our manager, a little bit nervous, asked some questions. Brendan responded to the questions, actually referenced one that they were good questions, and also acknowledged the young fellow was nervous. I mean, James, you've been in that position in press conferences. It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, my first press conferences with a manager were with the menacing figure that can be Ange Postecoglou in press conferences. So it can be a nerve-wracking experience, especially when you're a fan of the club. I think he's from a fan media platform, the boy that asked the question. You look up to guys like Brendan Rodgers, so it could be a particularly nerve-wracking situation, especially when you're talking to these people. Sometimes you can talk a bit too much, maybe trip over your own words, but lay off them a little bit. It was some of the people I'm seeing diving into food, really trying to have a go at him. I mean, you can think what you think of the question and whatever, but just leave the guy alone, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And sticking with you, James, on the press conference, one of the phrases that's been kind of quoted quite heavily since then is the power of Celtic Park. I think, which is quite an apt phrase. We're going to need that tonight, aren't we? How do you see us not only leveraging the home advantage, the crowds? We know what how Celtic Park can be on European nights. How should we approach the game tonight?
Yeah, one of the things that stuck with me after the Leipzig game was the way the fans got behind the team instead of getting on the team's back when we went behind. It's an all too familiar tale where Celtic go behind and the team just fall away from there. So if the fans can contribute to the team getting back to a good level in any way, then they should be. And they really rallied and helped galvanise the team to push forward. And it can't be understated how important the timing of the goals were that we scored against Leipzig. Goal just before half-time to give us a lead. That was massive going into the second half. And I think we followed up at Rugby Park that weekend. Cal McGregor scored right in the stroke of half-time. We're scoring goals at very important times in games at the moment. It's really helping benefit the team. But I think Alistair Johnson referred to Celtic Park as animalistic at times, especially when it comes to these big games where the fans are demonstrating a lot of passion. And I think you're going to get the same thing against Club Brugge tonight. The fans have a real sense of optimism, a real sense of positivity about these European games, which we haven't had in a long, long time. Myself and Patrick's generation have only really known disappointment when it comes to Celtic in Europe. We don't have much high tails to fall back on when it comes to Celtic in Europe. So we're relishing these moments where we can actually get behind the team and we can feel confident about going into matches against good teams such as Red Bull Leipzig and going out and bringing the game to them and getting some points. And when you're looking ahead to the remaining fixtures in this Champions League campaign, is looking at that top 8 too high an aim? I think 9 points is a big ask for Celtic in Europe especially. But we're feeling optimistic. John is talking about unbeaten seasons. I'm talking about maybe getting that top 8 spot in the Champions League. It will be a massive task to try and pull it off, but I think it's something that with the team playing at the top of their game, much like they did against Leipzig in the previous fixture, it's not something that's out the realm as a possibility.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm going one further. I'm going to quote Brendan and say, just take us to Munich right now. Just book your tickets. But no, I think, the manager will be realistic. He'll be one game at a time, one night at a time. But it is, and John, you referenced that it is a great time to be a Celtic fan. There's nothing but overwhelming positivity. And I'm going to come to you about that one exception that's came up shortly. But Patrick, just coming back to you, we're playing at Celtic Park tonight, playing at Paradise. We've been on great form. We've proven that we can do the defensive side of the game against Atalanta. We've proven we can go and score goals and use those assets that John mentioned in terms of Kuhn, Maeda on the wings. We've got the options of Kyogo or Reid up top. Midfield three are firing on all cylinders, and we've got what looks like a pretty solid backline as well. How would you see us approach the game tonight? Do you think we need to be wary of being too overconfident against Bruges? Would you like to see us be a little bit more conservative, or do you think this is a night where we actually go and demonstrate we can be on the front foot in Europe and really maybe go and bang in a few goals?
I wouldn't say to be conservative. I wouldn't sort of park the bus or play like we did in Atalanta. I think we're good enough to beat Bruges. I think we're probably a wee bit better than them, probably just slightly above Bruges' level, but still a really good team. They at the weekend beat their opponent 7-0. I think they're quite a poor side, the team that they beat.
Yeah, that was the consensus. Yeah, I think they're the kind of whipping boys of the league to an extent. Yeah,
sort of Hamilton Accies of Belgium, if you will. And they won 7-0. I think their strikers scored 4 goals. So I mean, it looks as if they're sort of free flowing in domestic competition. But I had a look at the table, and they've only scored 3 goals in the Champions League, conceded 6. I think they're a few points behind us, and obviously gives them a -3 goal difference. They have had some pretty tough games. I think they've played Dortmund. I want to say they've played AC Milan as well. I could be wrong on that. But I mean, they played Sturm Graz away, and I think they only won 1-0, which, an away victory in Europe, 1-0, would bite your hand off for that for Celtic. But, certainly in the sort of top level, they've not been free scoring yet, 4 games in, so hopefully that can continue. Trusty, Carter Vickers, Johnston, Taylor and Valle, probably the only sort of question mark of the first 11. Probably Taylor tonight, but it's a formidable defence we've got, especially with Kasper Schmeichel behind them. So, I think it'll be a close game tonight. I think there'll only be sort of 1 or 2 goals in it. But I wouldn't put it past us to keep a clean sheet. And I'd like us to to try and play the way that we did for probably about 75 minutes against Leipzig. We started really well. They sort of had a 15-minute spell where they looked in the ascendancy. We scored the equaliser, and from then on, we totally dominate the game. We barely give them a sniff. We dominate possession. We have a plethora of chances. So I'd like to see us try and play like that, try and dominate the game, because I think we've got the fitness, I think we've got the pace, I think we've got the quality. And, it's not as if we're on some sort of goal drought or we're scoring lucky chances. We're putting away good chances and we're creating good chances. So, I was talking about the bookies earlier. Celtic are even money favourites to win tonight. I think Bruges are close to 3-1, and then whatever the draw is. But I think it probably is a must-win game tonight. If it wasn't for Leipzig, I was sort of doom and gloom before Leipzig. I didn't really expect much because I thought they were a level above. But after that win, the pressure is kind of off a bit. But I think if we want to take that next step, if we want to get, if you're seeded for that playoff game and you want the home tie as your second leg, that's the top 16. If you want to get that top 8, as James was saying, you definitely need to win tonight. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I would say it's a must-win game, and I think we will win, actually. I think we've got too much quality, and the place will be absolutely rocking. I mean, when was the last time we won 4 Champions League group stage home games in a row? 2007 was the last time we won 3 in a row, so who knows if we've even done 4 in a row, but I do actually fancy us tonight.
Absolutely.
Just to
I think
jump in here with another point on Club Bruges, I've seen a lot of people bigging up their win over Aston Villa. I went back and watched the highlights from the win over Aston Villa. I don't know if you saw the goal that Club Bruges scored, but it is an absolute farce the way that goal happens. So
is that the Tyrone Mings win?
The Aston Villa goalkeeper passes it to Tyrone Mings for him to kind of take the goal kick or the free kick, so to say. He picks the ball up to throw it back to the goalkeeper. It gets given as a penalty for a handball from picking the ball up and throwing the ball back to the goalkeeper. So it's not as if they completely outclassed and outplayed Aston Villa. It was an absolute farce of a goal, the sort of goal that we would concede in Europe in years gone by. So
I saw
they didn't completely outclass like we did Leipzig.
James, I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but I think, and I know somebody will probably go back and find it, I think when we were talking about recruitment at the start of this season, I think Tyrone Mings was a player that I wanted us to be linked with. So I'm just acknowledging that before someone goes back and finds it. So I'm not going to deride him. I thought he was a player who could have done a job for us until I saw that moment. No, I'm not 100% sure.
Can I just follow on from what James was saying there about must-win game? James, do you mean must-win for us? Not James, sorry, Patrick.
I'd say must win if we want to take it to the next level. I think against Young Boys at home, we're going to get the 10 points. So I don't think it's a must win to qualify. But if you want to get that top 16 or the top 8, I think it's...
Yeah, what I was going to say is it's must win for them, for sure.
All right, okay.
Because they're sitting at 23rd. They're placed at 23rd. Their next 3 games are Sporting Lisbon, Juventus and Man City. This is possibly their only hope of a win, and they'll have to hope that other people round about them fall away, because the chances of them, qualifying are quite slim at the moment, and I'd say they absolutely have to win this game. So what they've been playing, how they've been playing so far in Europe is they've been bringing in an extra defensive midfielder. They don't do that when they're playing in their own league. So normally that gives him a bit of stability, but I'm not sure if he's going to do that tonight. It has worked for them fairly well so far, but they must win this game if they're going to have any hope of qualifying. So I think that puts the pressure on them very much so. I think it potentially leaves us with opportunities. I heard some people are saying it's potentially a very high scoring game. That might well be the case, especially if they play the way that they play in their own league. But in their own league, it's also been pointed out that they're flat track bullies. They score a lot against the weak teams, and they've lost the big games so far. Yeah. So, the way that we are playing, I would say it could be high scoring, but it might be high scoring for us and not potentially for them. It's an interesting. What's really interesting about this, I think, from our point of view, is this is pretty much the first, of the last 3 games we weren't expected to win, to get any points, right? So we're expected to do well against Slovan. That's great. Then got badly beaten, and then the last 2 games have been absolutely fantastic. So, but nobody was expecting points from that. So we were expecting our campaign to jump from Slovan to here. So this is really where we thought our campaign would begin. So what interests me about that is this was the first game that we would have been saying, if those results had gone the way we thought they were going to go, this would be the first game we are saying we must win this game. That's why when I agree with Patrick and say must win, it would have been must win. Now it's must win for a different reason. It would have been must win to have any hope of qualifying after being soundly beaten by the last 3 teams. But now it's must win if we want to get to the top 8, which is a ludicrous thing to say. So, I'm trying not to be overly happy and sort of smug about it, but it is an incredible thing to say, the potential for us to finish in that top 8. And it's totally achievable, because these games coming up now are the ones we're supposed to win, right? So can we get there? I don't know, but if things had gone the other way, the way we expected them to, this would have been us saying, can we qualify at all? And if we can't, we'll all be dead disappointed, because the upcoming games are eminently winnable. And so, it's an amazing situation to be in, but they definitely have to win this game. It could be a real good game tonight.
Absolutely. And
anything other than a win for them, they've got no chance. I think they're basically out of competition. So let's hope that we are on the way to a very comfortable top 8 finish.
Fingers crossed, John. Fingers crossed. And of course, Acsom will be covering the game tonight. You'll have Paul John. You'll have myself. I'm afraid it's a double denim, double duty. So apologies to everyone for that. But I'm sure we'll be joined by some of our international boys as well. We generally get Sean, Kevin, might even have a couple of others on as well. So look forward to you joining us tonight for that. Just keen to bring up some comments before I unleash John on a certain topic. So bear with me at the moment. So this is a good one. So Monty, and I want to point out this comment came in at 10:52 this morning. So there's a little competition going on here to see who can get the first comment. So fair play, Monty. And I have to say I loved your second comment, Jungle Line. So I'm loving the friendly competition. Jungle's blaming Paul John for this. He's off today. Always puts a Wednesday promo up early. It does. That's a good indication that I'm usually coming on, because Paul John's away doing other business. But what I'm loving actually, and this resonates throughout the comments, is the positivity you spoke about, guys. Which is Jungle Line coming in saying, "Great seeing so many fans' pictures leaving Ireland at the mad early hours this morning." I personally love seeing that on the socials, and honestly, to everybody who does make that journey, hats off to you, because I see them up at, in the middle of the night, they're on buses, they're munching on the whatever breakfast they can find, and they're all in fantastic spirits. So fair play to you boys, well done. Kevin Mullen comes in after the Acsom absolutely buzzing 3-1 to the hoop, so we're starting to get some predictions. They're all positive. Port Trop Express comes in, morning fellas, 2-0 to Celtic with Kuhn and Kyogo. I'd take that. Barry O'Sullivan comes in. Maybe bring us back down to earth a little bit, Club Brugge or Brugge or however it's pronounced. I know Paul John was talking about that yesterday. But Club Brugge will be no mugs. They were a pot 2 team and seem like catching teams on the break. I think it's going to be 3-2 to the boys. Still take that result, to be honest. Brown Warrior, you're coming in. Afternoon, boys. Baltic here in Langshouse, weather up the road. Well, we're just speaking about that. It's a little bit on the cold side here. It's a little bit cloudy. I think it's colder where you are, John. Paddy Lavery comes in. Can't wait to hear Big John's thoughts on tonight. Absolutely. Bit of a shout out for yourself, John. Paul Rees, afternoon trips. What a wonderful time to be a Tim. Hail, hail. Again, I'm loving the positivity. And then last one for now. James Cowan comes in at home for a pivotal game in our pursuit of European glory. Tonight's game has to be a win, especially at home. If we play to the level of a Leipzig match, we will win this game. Kun Kyogo, we will win. Love the positivity, love the positivity. And as you've said, John, there's lots and lots to be positive about as a Celtic fan. We've had the Christmas video released. It's had us all in tears and blubbering away. It was fantastic. Tony Roper doing his Grandpa Joe. Love seeing Henrik. They've released Henrik's book. Brilliant the way they've done it. And then, in the finest Tom Boyd fashion, big game and he scored an own goal.
Well, first John, of all, Henrik's driving me nuts with that haircut. Shave the sides, mate.
I know. I'm hoping he's bringing the dreads back. I would love to see him go back to the dreads. You know, bring the dreads back. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, I've actually got his book back there. I've not read it yet, but I'm looking forward to reading that. But John,
I'm not sure it's an own goal. I mean, just in one respect, the in terms of the virtual pitch, obviously, Celtic are selling pixels in a virtual pitch. So for £30, you can own a pixel of a part of Celtic Park. Now, I think the issue there is just with the fact it's Celtic Park, because I have secured the virtual rights for London Bridge and the Burj Al Khalifa. These are premium value virtual properties. And, if you invest with me, I'll guarantee you 2 holograms on a bit of paper that just certifies you're an idiot. It's official merchandise. Obviously, I'll be buying Celtic tops and stuff like that. I will ultimately support Celtic. And, I'll obviously give a few quid to the foundation as well, much like Celtic are doing. But this is just so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. And it's exploitation of the fans. And as I said, the marketing strapline was for the fan who has everything. And it should be followed with, let me sell you nothing. You're virtually selling people nothing. If the club want donations, ask for donations. This is just pure exploitation. It's farcical. And apparently the guy that is in charge of this company is a big Rangers man, is virtually, or whatever it's called, and as someone pointed out, it's just missing the I on the end. It should be virtual I. So it's a Rangers quality idea. This is the kind of thing I would expect from them. It's very, very, very poor for the marketing team, especially at this time of year. And you're just, you're selling nothing, man. Come on. You're literally selling people fresh air and a bit of paper for 30 quid and a hologram for 30 quid. It's sickening, really. We've all grown to accept, look, we understand how important the business is, right? Because it funds everything that we want to do, given our ambitions on the pitch. So we understand that. We don't like it. We accept it. We buy a lot of stupid tops. I just bought another stupid top that I'll never wear. So it's just, I keep forgetting how old I am, and then you put these things on, you're just like, I should never wear that. So we understand and accept that, and that's fair enough. We live in a capitalist society. That's the business. We have to make money. That's fine. But there've got to be red lines. There have to be red lines. I don't know who approved this, but someone in marketing. And the worst thing about it is, I clicked into it. People have already bought pixels. You can see stuff that's already been sold. I just mind-boggling. I mean, do these people know what they've got? They've got literally a bit of paper for 30 quid. Again, I just think, our fan base is fantastic for supporting the club. Our merchandise sales are unbelievable. That's why Adidas are moving us up to one of the elite teams. We've a lot to be proud of as a support about how much we love the club and how much we support the club. The board have a lot to be thankful for on that basis about how much we love and support the club financially. A lot of teams don't get that. But you don't exploit people. And that's what this is. This is bang out of order. Absolutely out of order. And, somebody really needs to refund these people their money, get that thing offline as soon as possible, because it is farcical and disgraceful, and every adjective you can think of down that line. Because it's such a bad move when everything's going so well. The fans are loving it. We're all loving life at the moment in terms of Celtic, and then you do something like that, and it's just a wee bit of a gut punch. It's just like, because what it says is, hey, mug, here, mug, come on over here. You open up your jacket, you've got all the dodgy watches and stuff. It's that sort of level of class. So, yeah, somebody needs to sort that out at the club. It's completely unacceptable.
Just to clear up, is there no real world benefit from this? Do you not get a bit of the pitch at the end of the season or something that's literally just the equivalent of like an NFT?
Yeah. You get a pixel.
Jesus.
You get a pixel. You know what I mean? Or what you get is something that doesn't exist anywhere except on a computer screen. It's not an NFT in as much as it doesn't even have that level of value, because it's not unique. There are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands potentially of people with the same pixels. And effectively, they made a big point of stressing that this is official club merchandise and you're supporting the club by doing this. All right, well, just ask us for the donation. Give us put a good bit more. Apparently, it's £1 that goes to the foundation, and they made a big point of stressing that as well. Look, 50% of it was going to the foundation. Fair enough. Quite frankly, something like this, 100% of it should be going to the foundation, because that's all it's good for. It's charity, right? It's either charity or it's exploitation, one of the other. And it really. It really is, we don't like to be reminded of how, the commercial operation actually works and how it targets the fans and all the rest of it, because we accept it to a certain degree, and we don't like to be reminded of how ruthless it really is. And that is just, I don't know what I say, it really is, farcical. There is no benefit to it. You don't get anything for it apart from the bit of paper with a hologram. So, it's not for me. And I don't think any of the fans, given the online reaction anyway, I think people are pretty much disgusted across the board. Apart from the pool souls that have already bought it. But as I say, you can learn from this experience and invest with me in the Burj Al Khalifa or London Bridge. You know what I mean? These are quality products, premium products, get you premium pixels. I promise that they will grow in value somehow. But not in any way that I've worked out yet, but they definitely will. Just give your money to me. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and if there are any supporters from Alaska, John will attempt to sell you snow by the end of the show. If anyone's wondering why I'm having to jump on mute, it's because the window cleaner has decided to turn up, and my dog doesn't like the window cleaner, as you can probably hear. So I'm going to quickly pass over to Patrick. Patrick, we've spoken a lot about the game tonight. What I want to focus on now is some of the team selections. Midfield three, a lot of debate, Engels or Bernardo. Well, we maybe even see, McCowan coming in at some point. What's your view on the midfield three tonight? How does he start, and what would you select? What would your selection be, rather?
Just want to make one point on the AI pitch, the sort of digital pitch. I think arguably one of the more embarrassing points is that people tried this, or clubs tried this, about 18 months ago, and they get canned for it 18 months ago. This crypto NFT. This sort of, it is a scam. That's what it is. It's just nonsense. And we're late to the party and trying to sort of scam our own fans. I don't want to call people that have bought it mugs, but I do question whether they know what they're buying, and how much value they place in it. So it's disappointing, and either it's a coincidence that it's happened a matter of days after the AGM, or Celtic know that they're trying to sell air effectively, and they've purposely put it out after a bunch of good news. So hopefully this doesn't happen again, because and hopefully there isn't a big uptake. I know some people have bought stuff, but I think overall it has been pretty poor.
I jumped in to take a look, and I think I saw about the particular section that I took a look at. I think I saw about 2 squares that were unavailable, and
Right.
You know, I'm just wondering who are these two people. I mean, one of them will be Lloyd from this channel, right? I mean, let's face it, Lloyd does everything, but I don't know who the other one is. But I did notice that you're not even owning it; you're essentially renting it because they have. I think it's something like I had the
12
notes here.
months
So
or 3 years or something.
£30 for a year, or if you want to invest in it for 3 years, rent it for 3 years, then it's £50, 49.99. So you're essentially renting something that you can't use, you can't build on, you can't own or take home. I'm not sure who's going to go to the games and actually point to a tiny little section of the park and say, "See that's mine. I own that. I own that." I mean, it's different. As I said in the group chat, I think if Big John Hartson was still playing, I mean, according to Gordon Strachan, he'd probably just stay in one of those spaces. So you could actually claim rent off Big John for a period. I shouldn't say that because he's actually working a night with him on the fifth.
But here's the thing: you've just said that there, right? And when you say it out loud, you laugh.
Yeah.
You have to laugh because it's. Imagine someone come to try and sell you this as an idea. How did the marketing department not just burst out laughing? You know, it's just ridiculous. And just say, Patrick, I'm not saying the people that bought them are, you know, I don't want to insult the people that bought them by calling them mugs, but I'm just saying the marketing department are obviously looking at and thinking that we are mugs. Right. Looking at us, they must think we're mugs. You know, so it's just, you know, and geez, talking about that, you know, bringing back to the point, just sell some mugs. Do you know what I mean? Just, you know, rather than making mugs out of us, just sell us some mugs. We'll buy those, you know, see so.
I think I'll offer to pay for my season ticket with 11 digital plots of my own garden and see if Peter Lawwell accepts that. See if the marketing team accept that. But I mean, to answer your original point, sorry, about the midfield, I think it stays the same. To be honest, I think he's in his team selection. He's basically saying what the best midfield is. I mean, I know McKeown has looked good when he comes in. He looks a fantastic squad player. I mean, realistically, he is the fifth choice midfielder, and that is an excellent position to be in. Bernardo obviously had that period around the Rangers game, sort of before and after the first international break, and you know he was obviously a great player. We know what he can do. He was in the team for a bit, but I think the first three picks itself, McGregor, Hatate, and Engels. You know, the creativity that you get from Hatate and the running and the fight that you get from Engels, and then we all know the consistency that McGregor delivers. So in terms of team selection, I don't think a lot changes. I think it probably stays the same as Saturday, and I think, you know, I think I'm right in saying Valley was rested against Leipzig. It was Taylor that started against Leipzig. So same team as Leipzig, and hopefully a similar performance and similar result. Because I think it's an 11 that works, and obviously you've got the strength off the bench. You've got guys like Ida, you've got guys like Bernardo and McKeown. You've got plenty of options. You know, you've got a leveler first there, and guys like Valley, Ralston, Scales. So we're in a good position squad wise going into the season and going into tonight as well. So I think we're in a really, really good place to go and get that 10 points and qualify certainly for the top 24 and hopefully beyond that top 24.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, a lot of debate has been around Engels and whether or not he's so far representing value for money, James. I think, and again, apologies for the dog. This couldn't be timed worse. But he's not happy with Patrick's selection. That's why he's moaning. I think we have a player in Nicholas Kuhn, for example, who's in the lineup at the moment, who is absolutely exceeding all our expectations. He's playing fantastic, but he's the biggest example of why we need to give players time, right? Now, Engels has come in for vastly greater sums of money than Nick Kuhn. He is showing, I think, in flashes what he's likely to bring to the table. I'm still unclear as to what his specific preferred position is in that midfield. Sometimes he plays deeper and he looks like he's got great vision. I don't think he's blessed with great pace, but I think he's got good strength on the ball at times. I've seen him, carry the ball forward quite well. Other games, he looks like he's maybe not up for the physical side. So there's definitely more to come from Engels, I would say. Are we judging him too harshly at this stage? Do you think he's a player that, similar to Kuhn, I think once he beds in, he will bring a lot more to the table? And would you start him tonight ahead of, say, Bernardo, who we know is a bit more tried and tested?
Yeah, Paulo Bernardo has been knocking on the door the last few weeks. Him and Adam Ida were very impactful from the bench against Hearts at the weekend. They both made a real good case to start tonight, but Arne Engels keeps his place in the team for me. The midfield has been fine in Europe. It's been really good in the games that I've played so far. And as much criticism as we have given Arne Engels for some of his domestic performances, as mentioned, sometimes the physical side of the game isn't for him, it looks like. When it comes to these European games, I think he gives himself a good account of himself. Look at that. Slovan Bratislava game, he was absolutely phenomenal that day. He keeps his place in the middle of the pack for me. I think you bring Paulo Bernardo in at the weekend for the game against Ross County, though. Like, you definitely bring him in for that match. Kyogo would keep his place up front for me. Adam Ida offers that different option from the bench if Kyogo isn't working. It's good that we have that luxury to be able to do so. It's good that we're having these sort of debates. There isn't a clear bad option. We've got some really strong, healthy competition in this Celtic team. I'd have Alex Baye coming in at left back as well. I think he just offers that really high level Champions League football that we are looking for from this team. So I'd make a couple of changes. I'd have Kasper Schmeichel in goals, obviously. Johnson, Carter Vickers and Trusty. I've got to mention on the American pair at centre back, they have been really beginning to gel these last few weeks. And what Austin Trusty shows is when you spend that extra money in the transfer market, you go out and spend £6 million on a player, you're going to get that guaranteed quality that you go out and pay for. You're not having to wait a lot of time for them to come good. You're not taking the gamble or a risk for a £3 million player like we did with Mike Nawrocki. He took a few games to get going. He hasn't got going. And I couldn't tell you when Mike Nawrocki is now. And I couldn't tell you the last time he was in a Celtic squad. So when you go out and pay the big money for these players, you're going to get the guaranteed quality that guys like Austin Trusty brings to the team. And I think it was yourself, Chris, that mentioned the way Kuhn and Maeda linked up for their goal against Hearts at the weekend. That was absolutely phenomenal. As John mentioned, two of the quickest players in Europe, and we're blessed to have them being able to coordinate things in the Celtic attack. So you'd have those two out wide with Kyogo through the middle. And if Kyogo isn't working, you've got the luxury of bringing Adam Ida off the bench.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some real assets within the squad at the moment. I mean, the type of attributes, the pace on the wings that you've mentioned, the options in the centre midfield. We seem to be getting a really established partnership at centre back with Trusty and Carter Vickers. We know what he brings. Kasper Schmeichel looks like an assured presence at the back every time he plays at the moment, and it really takes the type of goal that we lost against Hearts to beat Schmeichel with the form he's on at the moment. You know, sometimes you just have to acknowledge that's a bit of a worldie, and fair enough. But he has come up big when he's been called upon this season. So brilliant to have options. Kyogo, I still think, as you say, is the first choice centre back. I think centre forward rather. I think he's not as prolific, and I've heard this mentioned previously. He's not as prolific as he was under Ange. But I think his overall game is, he's bringing more to the table in terms of how he builds the play and contributes to the play. And the more goals he can get, even on substitute appearances, it's only going to improve his confidence, and we might actually start to see more of what we saw last season. John, for you, in terms of lineup, any differences to what the lads have said? Would you mix it up at all? Would you start with Engels in midfield?
Well, first of all, just to James's point, Trusty, and you've got to give credit where credit is due. It was a gamble for me because you're paying big money for the guy, but he was in a team that was getting battered, right? Yeah. And they were. I mean, if you asked the supporters, who were watching those games, what they thought of him, they thought he was a car crash. Yeah. And so he's been brilliantly scouted. Someone's obviously seen something in the US setup. It's a great job, a brilliant job, and he's a snip at $6 million. From the minute he came in, really, I thought this boy is going to. I mean, surely he's going to displace Scales, and then you're feeling for Scales because he's done so well. But he's naturally left-footed. He's fast. He's big. He's strong. His distribution's good. Good tempo. You just. With those two at the back, the feeling that you have is nobody's going to drop a clanger, right? Yep. It's not whatever wounds that we suffer will not be self-inflicted. And that's just the way it makes you feel. And you couldn't always say that about some of the centre halves we've had in the past, because you're just waiting for that mistake again, and then there's an argument about, everyone's got a mistake in them, but it doesn't look that way at the moment. And I would say that I don't think Carter Vickers' presence is tremendously reassuring. I'm not sure he's up to the standard that he was, when he initially started playing. I think the injuries are taking a wee bit of a toll, and I think he's just getting back there, finding his way to that absolute peak, Carter Vickers. But if someone's going to get done for pace or someone's going to be outrun, it'll be Carter Vickers. It won't be Trusty, So, Trusty was keeping up with it. Remember his studs were costing us goals because he was almost keeping up with some of the fastest wingers in the game. And the ball was coming off the bottom of his studs as he was trying to intercept them. So, it's tremendously reassuring that we have there. And it's really rather annoying that we still have the same weakness at left back now that right back's pretty much covered. And we still have that same issue at left back. And you can be absolutely 100% that's what they'll target us. That's what, because this game's so important for them. They will have done a proper analysis. I'm not sure, how much analysis or the last few teams did of us, because I think they pretty much expected batter us. But I think that any analysis they've done is they'll see the left hand side as a weak side and they'll target us down there. And with some of the players that they have, it could be a problem. They've got some nippy wingers, so I think it's actually the left winger though who is the real quick one. And so, hopefully that wouldn't be that much of an issue. But, so Greg Taylor will be targeted, I'm sure, and we'll see what happens if Baye comes on early, because there's been some sort of fall away there. We've been fortunate since the Dortmund game. The thing that sort of strikes you is that the other clubs, the other teams do get chances, but the majority of the time, they're not taking them, which is unlike the Dortmund game, which is a guy who looked at the goal, the ball went in the back of the net, it was just ridiculous. So, we will make mistakes and hopefully that they do not capitalise on them, and they don't have the quality, hopefully, hopefully the ball falls to the wrong man or whatever it might be. And they're not able to exploit us down that side, because unless they've got big guys and they're putting the diagonal ball into the back post, Greg Taylor will be all right. It's that's where he suffers. They've got big athletes and just put those diagonal balls on top of his head, and there's nothing he can do about them physically. So, as far as Engels and Bernardo, I am happy with whatever the manager decides there, because the manager obviously has decided Engels is starting. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think the stats back up. I think he had fewer forward passes than pretty much anyone in the team, if you look at his stats the last few games. So that's something we criticised Bernardo for last year. And he turned that around. And so I think Bernardo is offering more going forward at the moment. But the manager obviously believes in Engels because he's still playing him. And he believes he brings something important to that midfield. I'm not a good enough judge of a player to see exactly why that's better than Bernardo at the moment. But either of them is fine by me because they're both quality players. And we have great options elsewhere, apart from, once we start dropping down from our first choice in the wings, that's a different matter. Those areas need to be addressed.
Yeah, although it would be nice if Yang does get an appearance tonight, that he continues the glimpse of great form that he showed against Leipzig, which was something we need to see more consistently. I think Palm obviously again is I think got just a little bit more to prove on that front. Lots to consider tonight. I think it's going to be interesting, team lineup. It's going to be interesting to see how we set up. I always think the opening 20 minutes tells the story of the game. If we go out with that high intensity, try and either contain or try and focus on getting a few goals early to give us that momentum going into the second half. Fantastic. Getting a few comments coming up, so I'm just going to bring up a few more. There's actually my dog is getting a lot of the comments here. Apologies again for that barking. Somebody made the point, the window cleaner is probably a Rangers fan. I can actually confirm that is the case. So whether this is deliberate or not, mission accomplished. So yeah, I'll be having a word next time he's here. Plus he missed a bit, I think, so won't go there. Okay, let me just bring up some of the comments here at the moment. Paddy Lavery comes in. I wonder, is it this cold in Plymouth? Could someone ask Keith at Oakton? Yeah, Keith always gives us a weather update from Plymouth. It always seems to be sunny, but not necessarily all the time. And in fact, Keith has responded, say, hello all from a damp Plymouth. I like this comment from James Kerwin. The massive support we will have tonight at Paradise will play a key role, hopefully intimidating the away team. So it's imperative that we sing up, cheer loudly, and let them know that Celtic is here. I think that goes without saying. Paul Rees comes in, Bernardo or Engels. Yep, I think that's the one of the big debates, and Engels will be up for it against his former club from M Young there. We've got a few others here coming in. Craig Monroe comes in. Excellent opportunity for us to show some good Champions League consistency. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're on the verge of doing that. We've had more good results than bad results this year, and it's you're almost afraid to expect too much at this point because we've been burnt before, but we'll never have a better chance. Shane Murray comes in. Engels takes a good penalty and a great corner. That's actually a really good point because he's very, very dependable at set pieces. And actually, it's dare I say, from the corners, he maybe just eclipses Matt O'Reilly to an extent with his delivery. I think some of his delivery is phenomenal. Haven't seen him stepping up for free kicks too often. Be interesting to see what he can do from that should we get the opportunity. And George comes in. Tonight, the decibels will be loud when we score, going for the loudest cheer in European football. Amen. I think that's absolutely correct. So, guys, we're coming close to the end of the stream today. Obviously, we're covering the match tonight, but what I like from each of you is to get a bit of a rundown of how you think the match will go and your predictions. So we'll start, Patrick, with yourself.
I said earlier, I think it'll be a close game. I think there won't be a lot of goals in it. So I'm going to stick to that. Score prediction, I'm not going to sit in the fence, but I'm really sort of hovering around 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. I think we're going to win. A clean sheet in Europe. That's a bit too ambitious. I'll go for 2-1. Just one final point. We've been very lucky with the draw so far. I noticed last night there are 3 teams who have played 5 games and have 0 points after last night's matches, and we were drawn against all 3 of them. Young Boys, Bratislava, and Leipzig. So I think we did get sort of generationally lucky with our league draw, and hopefully, regardless of where we finish, I'd like to think we're going to make it to the next stage in some form. Hopefully we can carry that same luck again because it's been a great season so far. It's probably been, up until this point, certainly probably the best season I've had in my 11 years as a season ticket holder. Obviously it can still go wrong, but hopefully not. So long may it continue with a 2-1 victory tonight. And how will the game go? I think we'll score early in both halves, and then they will get a consolation towards the end.
That's very impressive, Patrick. You had a season ticket when you were 1 year old. Excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, listen, if anyone deserves some luck in Europe, it's us, because it does seem that we've been on the end of some real rotten luck over the past few years. Decisions going against us, sendings off, a few decisions. But no excuses this year. I think we've got a good opportunity. I'm always hesitant to say it's an easy group because I don't think there's any easy games in this competition. I think we have to respect every opponent, and as we've seen, you can sometimes be nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. So take nothing for granted tonight. John, same question to yourself. Prediction, insight into how you think the game will go?
I think it's going to be a canter and we'll pump them 3-1. No, I think probably, given how important it is for them, I think they're probably going to try and keep it tight and hit us on the counter, but the longer the game goes on, they're going to have to open up. So if we prevent them getting an early goal, I think we'll end up beating them quite handily in the second half. If we can keep it tight to half time, they've got no choice but to attack us. That's going to open up opportunities for us, and probably for them. But we don't have to win this game. That's the joy of what the position we've put ourselves in. We don't have to win it. But alternatively, as I said before, it is a generationally good draw. And that's how you pronounce it properly first time. But we have to take advantage of it for that reason. Because the amount of money we could make from this could fund years of making sure that we appear in the Champions League and we establish ourselves as a Champions League club. We knew, they said it right at the start of the season, it was a fact that we had got, down to the stats, the best draw in the entire Champions League. That's how lucky this draw has been. We got a better draw than anybody by quite some distance. So I think we must take advantage of that. We don't have to win this game, but I think, as I said, if those results had gone differently, we'd have been fully expecting to win this game. This would have been a must-win game. We'd have been in here with massive pressure on us. So we don't have the same sort of pressure on us, but we still, in my view, must win the game. I think we will win the game. As I say, I think it'll probably be tight. We can keep them out for the first half, then I think it'll be tight, and I think ultimately we'll overwhelm them in the end. I think it'll probably end up, I did say jokingly at a canter, but I think it could well end up 3-1 to us, and massively looking forward to it, because this is the start of the run that we're expected to win. And also just say that particular start with the teams with 0 points, I don't think you'd get any money on one of those teams being Leipzig. That is remarkable. That's absolutely amazing. What a night for the fans this is now. This is big time. This is a real deal. These are games that we're going to expecting to win in the Champions League. It is unbelievable. And the fans have an opportunity here to make a difference, because we've seen how rattled they get at the start. When that Champions.
Oh, John's been cut off in his prime. I swear it wasn't me. My hands are here. I think just to echo John's point, while he's having some connection issues, I think when you look at 0 points, one of the questions I'll put to you, James, before we get your prediction, is how many would have bet on Celtic having 0 points at this point in the competition beforehand, given our record in Europe, given the perception of our club in Europe and some of the derision we've had from various quarters. I reckon, as John said, not many people would have bet on Leipzig being on 0 points. I'm willing to believe there was a lot who would have thought Celtic would have been amongst the bottom or lowest performing teams in this competition. I love the fact that we're going to stuff that down people's throats, that we're doing so well in making a lot of those usual suspects stand up and take notice. We have lost Yogi, but that's okay. We got his prediction. So, James, to finish us off then, to get your prediction as well and an insight into how you think the game will go.
Yeah, it's good that I always say it seems like every season when the draws come out for the Champions League, most teams will be begging and praying for Celtic, because that would be a guaranteed 6 points. You're going to get to take in the cool Celtic Park atmosphere, you'll get the win there, and then you'll hammer them at your own ground. That's usually the way it would always go. So now that we're making some sort of strides and efforts to upset that trend, that we're starting to stamp some sort of authority on Europe again, that we are a team that can cause you problems, I'm really enjoying that. I'm really enjoying Celtic Park now becoming a ground that you're scared to go to, rather than one you want to come to hear the atmosphere, see your team win at a canter. And that's it. And just when you were touching on the draw as well, I think it's about time that we got an easy draw. Because how many years were we getting? You're getting Barcelona and PSG one year, you're getting Barcelona and Man City, Barcelona every single blooming year. So it's about time that we got a favourable draw for once. And just on the game, in the way that I think it'll go, I think John is probably right with a 3-1 prediction. I can see it being similar to Leipzig. Even if we don't perform to that level, I don't think you need to perform absolutely exceptionally like you did against Leipzig to beat Club Brugge. I think you can get by with a 7 out of 10 performance. You could probably scrape a 2-1 win over them. But I'm hoping we can continue to raise levels in Europe. We can keep that exceptional attitude going forward, and we can get the 3-1 win once again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a wee comment now that we've got John back. So, Big Red, happy birthday, John Yogi Hughes. Hopefully, see you in Glasgow at some point with Lawrence. Yeah,
thanks
absolutely.
a lot, mate.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. John, you did.
Can I just say, I dropped out there. My internet went off. I did make possibly the most intelligent point that's ever been made on Acsom, but there's no point repeating it now. I think it's just time to get the show over with. But that's hours up. But you did miss it. It was an absolute beauty.
I'm sure. We'll get it in the group chat, John. Then we'll get Paul John to read it out to tomorrow. Just a couple of things to update everybody on. We are now at time, so I'm under orders from the gaffer to bring these up. So I am going to take my eyes away from the screen just so I get these right. Apologies for putting anyone off, but lots of events coming up. We've got John Collins coming into Graces on the 1st of December, which I think is Sunday. There's 19 tickets left for that. John, I've never seen him live yet, but from what I understand, he really subverts expectations in terms of his personality. He's actually very, very, I think he's very, very outgoing and quite funny on these events. So, and he'll have lots of stories to tell about his time at Celtic. So don't miss that one. There's still tickets available. We now have an event. It's not an Acsom hosted event, although Paul John is doing the hosting. So some of the Acsom boys will be there. So we've got Sutton and Hartson coming up at Malone's in Sauchiehall Street. That's on the 5th of December. So next Thursday, there are tickets still available for that. And then we have the Centenary Boys, which is also doubling as the Acsom Christmas night out. That's at our usual venue in Bad, and that's Peter Grant, Roy Aiken, and Packy Bonner. So 3 real legends of those of us of a certain vintage, John. And that's on the 19th of December, and there are VIP and standard tickets still available, but they are going very, very fast. There's also a couple of live games, watch-alongs that are coming up with analysis from a former player and some of the regular Acsom boys. They are both being held at Bad. So we have the Zagreb game, and we also have the Rangers game as well. So those are free entry. You will get a pie, and you'll get the chance to listen to the Acsom boys giving their analysis. Unfortunately, won't be there. I will be hosting the bulletin as normal on those days, so you won't have to listen to me if you're at the venue. But unfortunately, if you can't make it to the venue, you are going to be stuck with me. So apologies in advance for that. But somebody's got to keep the lights on as we go. But lots of live events, lots of content coming. We have another episode of This Is Acsom coming up on Friday evening. That's where Paul John's away. I don't know who the guest is. He's not revealed it, but I'm sure it's going to be another cracker. So please tune into that. All that's left for me to say is thank you to everybody.
Can I just say one thing? I hate to interrupt you. Say one thing. I am actually away for next Tuesday. I'm away to Tenerife for 7 days, and I would like to say I'm going to miss you.
I'm going to ban you for this. I'm going to press a button, John. And
in fact, I'm going to get someone to send me a link so I can dial in some badness from the cocktail bar. All right. But I mean, the show's on at 12:30. There's no time difference. I'll probably be too drunk by then. But anyway, I'd just like to say, folks, enjoy the middle of your December. I know I will, and I'll try and rub it in as much as I can while I'm away.
Yeah. See, for the guys in the comments, you only have to hear this on the bulletin. We have to hear this continually through the group chat. John doesn't just leave it as a one and done. No, John, hopefully you enjoy your holiday when it comes, mate. So anyway, going back to that before I was so rudely interrupted, something I've never done to John. It's just to say, listen, everybody that's tuned in, we were 1,200 strong. Thank you, everybody that commented and continues to comment and support the channel. This has been the award-winning Acsom. I'd just like to say thanks to Patrick McGill, James McKenzie, and of course, John Yogi Hughes. Thanks very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.